Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had an amazing Saturday so far. Today, guys, we're going to be diving into Vechain, and I'm going to be telling you why I am exceptionally bullish, and I believe a break to the upside is coming for this project. We're going to dive straight into it, guys, because we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to be looking at the daily time frames. We're going to be looking at the 4-hourly. And we're going to be looking at the 1-hourly because there is a number of things that are leading me to be rather bullish on Vechain. So we'll start with the 4-hourly and then we'll do the 1-hourly. We're also going to start by looking at Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin, and there was a lot of panic about this sell-off potentially leading to a further downside, having something like an ABC correction. But in actual fact, guys, I think you have similarities, and we drew this falling wedge yesterday to this sell-off over here, where this was kind of a basing structure, if you will. I think you've got a similar thing taking place today, guys, and ultimately you're going to see continuation to the upside as a result of this. I mean, if you look at this wick and look at how kind of much it was bought up, and you look at the fact that you've had a little bit of time pass now, you haven't actually rolled below it, this could be a kind of basing structure, if you will. So I'm actually rather bullish on the crypto space as a whole. It takes a few days to kind of work out the direction of the market after you have a sell-off like this. So for example, if you look at this kind of sell-off over here, you just continue to kind of roll. You have a rising wedge sort of structure take place over here, whereas right now what you're having is more of a basing structure. So that's what I'm anticipating for the market as a whole. Bitcoin could just chop around, do sideways, and kind of continue to form this falling wedge, which will allow the altcoins to kind of flourish. Now in regards to Vechain, and we're going to talk about Vechain as a project in just a second, because that's probably one of the most bullish indicators that you could have, is what is the project doing? And these guys are killing it, ladies and gentlemen. They're seeing real world implementation, which is something that many of the other cryptocurrencies out there do not have. I'm talking very fast because we've got a lot to go through. I also want to be reiterating this Elliott wave theory and why it's in play, and in fact where our fifth and final wave is going to take us. I think you'll just hear, guys. And this fifth wave is getting ushered in the same way that the third wave and the one wave took place. So we're going to talk about that. Now in regards to the more immediate time frames, guys, can you see this sort of W double bottom structure that you may be forming here? I am anticipating that you do break to the upside out of this. And on the 1-hourly, which I was really paying quite a lot of attention to, you do have kind of a bit of a rounding structure, if you will. Not only is it a rounding structure, it's a kind of a horizontal triangle that you've actually broken out of. Let me make that a little bit more accurate for you guys. So can you see this? You've got this kind of horizontal structure taking place that you've broken to the upside from. Very, very, very common that you'll come back, you'll retest it, and then see continuation. And ultimately, this looks very much to me somewhere in between a cup and handle and a nice rounded bottoming structure. You can see there's a lot of support in this area. It's not a kind of opposition where you're kind of going up, you're making marginal highs only to come into a sell-off. It's the opposite of that. So on the short-term time frames, we're actually very bullish. Now let's talk about the more macro, because this is where it's got me exceptionally bullish. And I've just mentioned that you're starting your fifth wave in a similar way to your third and your one wave. Well, let's take a look at that, guys. This was your one wave. And one common trait, and we spoke to you about how Vechain is a laggard. We've looked at a number of different projects in comparison. And really what we focused on was once you've had your sell-off, your two wave in this case, or your fourth wave in this case, it takes you longer to recover than other altcoins. Many altcoins are already in new all-time highs, whereas Vechain takes a little bit longer to kind of warm up. And this is just because they're not on as many as exchanges as other cryptos out there. They're not as widely accessible, so they don't really benefit in a similar way to many of these projects that are on like Coinbase and Kraken and places like that. So we've stated for a long time that you're just here, guys, and it's playing out in a uncanny fashion, and ultimately you've got this to come. So you're just here, and you've still got this to come within your Elliott wave theory, because you do have Elliott waves within Elliott waves. We've explained all this in greater detail in other videos, and essentially, you know, this is where you are. And what I want to do is take a look at these EMAs and why I'm anticipating a break to the upside. Now let me draw the Elliott wave theory on, actually, just to make it apparent. So this is what you look like, guys. Let's just draw these very loosely so I get a bit more retail on the charts. You're now in your fifth and final wave, which I believe is going to take you towards that $1.50 mark. And that could be quite conservative, actually. Between $1 and $1.50 is where I think you're going to get to. If we look at our RSI, sets up in a very similar way. Can you see this? You come up, two wave correction, three wave, fourth wave, and then you're on your fifth wave. And you're doing your fifth wave. Can you see this? This was your first little breakout here. First little breakout here. You come back down before continuation. First little breakout here. First little breakout here. Let's just make that a little bit more apparent, guys. I know this is very squiggly. It's just I'm trying to get through quite a lot here for you and show you a number of different... There's method to our madness. We don't just come on here and throw out a price and say, look, this is why you're getting there and this is why we're going up. We have reasons for why we believe. So if you look at this, where we essentially said you were, you come up, you sell off. Essentially, you finished your fourth wave in a similar way to what you finished your two wave. You then come up, you sell off before we see continuation. If we look at the actual... let's get rid of these before we continue. If you look at the actual symmetry on the charts, and I'll get the bar pattern up to show this. I've done this a million times for you guys, just because it's so important to remember the bigger picture. It's always, you know, Vechain is a laggard. It can be quite a hard one to hold, certainly when you're seeing other coins outperform. So we've took this schematic from over here, guys, and we're just relaying it to where we are today. And you can see the similarities here, can't you? Up, you come down, you make this first wave where we are today, and then you have this big sell-off. Up, you come down, you make this first wave here, and then you have this sell-off before we see continuation to the back end. And that's where I think you are today, ladies and gentlemen. It's why I've come on here to make this video. They are pretty much identical and very similar to this. And essentially, if we look at these EMAs, and this is what I started talking about before I got distracted, you can see you have this kind of bullish cross to usher things in. You have that on your... this really kicks things off. You have that over here. So bearish cross, come up. This is your bullish cross, bearish cross, bullish cross. Bearish cross, you've just had your bullish cross. And one thing I want to focus on is look at every time these lines come back to each other. So you have your cross over here, you come back, and they cross once more. You can see every time they cross, you get a spike on the back end of it. So you see here when they cross, it's a good indication that you've got a move coming. And the move could actually start, and typically does by the time you've had this cross, or these kind of touching of these EMAs, your move's already started, and that's where I think you are. So can you see you have this initial bullish cross, you come up, you touch these EMAs, and you get a bounce off the upside, bounce off the upside, bounce off the upside. This is about to happen again, ladies and gentlemen, in more of a similar fashion to this one over here, and I believe you are going to see a bounce to the upside, and I think new all-time highs are around the corner. So I'm exceptionally bullish on Vechain on a number of different time frames. I think the shorter term time frames look very, very healthy. Yes, you're seeing a bit of a pullback, but you could really on that hourly just be setting up that cup and handle. Can you see this? And then you get a break equivalent to that to the upside. So I'm exceptionally bullish on a number of different time frames, and I don't think there's any reason. I think Bitcoin looks to me to be basing out. We'll know in a very short period of time. If you're not already following me on Twitter, guys, head over to @RealAllInCrypto for some more timely updates. We've given a number and make a number of accurate predictions on there. But Vechain is a project, and this is, you know, there's so many reasons to be bullish on these guys. They're basically cornered the supply chain market in China and a number of other countries. And this is, Vechain as part of their ecosystem have Vetho, which is essentially now starting to see real adoption. And this is just another partnership, Mad Viking Games. The partnerships are just continuous. This is learn how to innovate a business by leveraging blockchain. They mention Vechain specifically. Accept crypto using a POS terminal. This mentions Vechain directly. I mean, these guys are absolutely killing it in terms of partnership. So they're a very, very strong blockchain. And ultimately the charts, from a charting point of view, as somebody who analyzes, and really guys, I'm an investor. I'm not really a trader. I do take some swing trades, and I will actually be taking this trade to the upside. I think this potentially, or certainly over here, was a very good entry point, and I think you're doing very much a similar thing to what Cardano did. We had mentioned that Cardano over here was forming a W double bottom, and today you actually broke to the upside from that, and that's essentially a similar thing that I think is taking place for Vechain. These W double bottoms absolutely occur all the time. W double bottom. I can show you 1,000,001 examples. Really, all charting is, guys, is you're just looking at previous data. You're looking at the kind of, and applying it to the future with, you know, variables attached. Can you see this kind of bottoming? It's a good sign when you kind of create a support floor, if you will. And there's plenty more examples of these W double bottoms at place. But that's really all I have for you in this video. Can you see this one over here? Very much in a similar fashion to this one right down here, guys. So we're super bullish, super stoked to be a part of the crypto space, super stoked to be on this channel talking to you guys. I hope everybody's having a fantastic weekend so far. This was really just a short and sweet update. A number of things that I wanted to talk about that we got out of the way. You are still in your Elliott wave theory, and ultimately we think that you're here in comparison with where you're going. You've got a long way to go. And is it possible? Let's just touch on this. Let's get back to the daily time frame. So why is it that I think you're getting towards that $1 mark and over? Well, within Elliott wave theory, there are kind of rules that apply. And typically your third wave is your biggest, your first wave is your smallest, and your fifth wave is somewhere in between. Now that's true in the traditional markets. In the commodities markets, however, sometimes your fifth wave can actually overperform. If we apply that to crypto, when we know that things typically will get really bullish, I mean, this is 2017. It's not till the end of the year that things really start to take off and you have your most kind of parabolic gains. I mean, this is 2013. Prior to that, 2013, 2017. I believe we're going to see a similar thing take place where FOMO and that kind of retail-driven mania occurs. So your third wave, or certainly your fifth wave, which I believe you're on now, could actually be pretty significant and spectacular. I don't necessarily think you're going to come above your third wave and outperform that in terms of percentages, but certainly your one wave I'm anticipating over performance too. So what I want to do very quickly, guys, is take the percentage from the one wave, apply it to the recent dip. So that's 1248%, so 1,248%. Just out of curiosity, let's apply that to today. This is a very pessimistic outlook. So 12,248% is round about $76. Now remember, you are likely to overperform this. This is typically your smallest wave within your cycle. And certainly crypto, we know, tends to get parabolic towards the end of the year. So that's what we're expecting. Just out of curiosity, let's take this wave here, which is 3,025%. And let's apply that to today, just to be curious. You're getting around about $1.80. Now, I happen to think that your fifth wave is going to be coming between your one and your three wave, so it's not going to be as long as your one, but it's going to be longer than. It's not going to be as long as your three, sorry, but it's going to be longer than your one wave, and that's kind of what we're anticipating, which is where we get the kind of $1 to $1.50 price range. Also, if you overlay fibs, which we'll do on another video in a lot more detail, I've got lots of Fibonacci videos coming out. Fibs are a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Most traders use them, and that's why they tend to hit targets very perfectly. So all I have for you in this video, guys. I don't want to bore you too much. Expect it, watch this. I am anticipating a breakout for Vechain, and that's all I have for you in this video, guys. I'm going to love and leave you on that note. Hodl. I hope this has been a lesson to many of us, just like hodling over here for many alts, or hodling over here, or there's a million and one examples. Hodling works in the crypto space. It's how you make the most amount of money. In fact, hodlers will often outperform traders. That's all I have for you in this video, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to love and leave you on that note. If you enjoyed the content, like us, always appreciated. So is a comment, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you very much.